with an update on a former world champion and more. This is Wrestling Rambles. My name is John, and you're watching the Wrestling Report. Before we move on, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Rambles with notifications on, and don't forget to like the video. Warning fans about people making accounts using her name. Dakota Kai posted this on X. I hate to see people taken advantage of. My only accounts are this one, @I'mKingKoda on Instagram, and @char1IEGIR1 on TikTok. Don't have any other accounts. Stay smart out there. Praising the strength of Candice LeRae, Bayley said this to Cody Rhodes on WWE's YouTube channel. One time she suplexed me on the indies, and the joke I used to make was, the strongest two people I've ever been in the ring with were Brock Lesnar and Candice. She threw me through the roof. As Damon Kemp, the brother of Gable Steveson, was recently let go by WWE, more details were provided by the Wrestling Observer newsletter. The Bobby Steveson cut has led to a lot of nervousness in NXT among those whose contracts are coming due, because unlike other cuts like Dijak, main roster contract, Gable Steveson, huge contract and didn't show much, and Gulak, the Rousey situation and other things that came up, Bobby Steveson was good in the ring for his level of experience, and nobody had anything negative to say. So except for those who are clearly being pushed as future stars, many others do have the deal of, if they would cut him, who else would they cut? Discussing the idea of making a WWE comeback down the line, AJ Francis told the Angle podcast, "Yeah, I talked to Paul Heyman and Triple H last week. I still am in communication with everybody there. The thing is, I'm just doing my own thing right now. Before, if you thought that I was just the heavy big man in a crew and just stand there and look big and be that person and hit row, if you thought that, you were wrong then. But if you pay attention right now, you'll see exactly how wrong you are. The best thing that happened to me and TNA is Tommy Dreamer will make sure I get a mic every single episode. I talk every single episode. I have major talking segments in huge spots, and I kill them because there's no one that talks better than me. There never has been. The fact is, I need a mic. If you give me a mic, I'll show you that I'm better than everybody else you got. If anyone thinks I'm not, stand 6 feet away from me with a microphone in your hands and let's just see what happens." Mentioning a movie role he had that he still receives money from, The Undertaker said this on his 6 Feet Under podcast. "I did the world's worst movie before I started with WWE. Suburban Commando, if you're curious. I still get checks. Every once in a while, I get one that is $1.25. It's been a while since I got one from Suburban Commando, but I still get them." Speaking about his recent absence from Raw, with exceptions to the vignettes, King of the Ring Gunther told Gorilla Position, "Well, overall I'm a big fan of less is more. I think it's a rule that applies in most occasions in life. I think in general it makes sense right now because after I won the King of the Ring, it was clear that I would be challenging for the World Heavyweight Championship at Summerslam. To be fair, there was not really a need to be involved that much before Money in the Bank. I've had the luxury of leaning back for a few weeks and just looking at the things that happened and looking at all the drama that went on with the Judgment Day and Seth Rollins being back, and then all the chaos with CM Punk and Drew McIntyre at the end. It was amusing to watch, I have to say, and yeah, I enjoyed it." As The Miz made fun of CM Punk back in 2020 that garnered an angry response from Punk, Miz addressed a rumor that Punk apologized to him before his return to WWE, telling Unlikely with Adrian Hernandez, "Yeah, it was in Chicago. And I was just walking down the stairs and he was standing there. We just locked eyes. Remember, he left a long time ago and has never been back, right? And it always felt like it was a never going to happen type of thing. To see him backstage, I was like, what? So we ended up having a really good conversation, and it was one of those moments where it was guys talking. We kind of just buried the hatchet, I guess you could say." During Brody King's performance at a concert, Darby Allin would rush the stage and end up being thrown off. Commenting on the career of Bryan Danielson, specifically his time in AEW, Disco Inferno noted on the Keeping It 100 podcast, "I think it's a fair statement to say he completely lost his star power. Just say if he left AEW today to return to WWE tomorrow, would they even care? He's broken and hasn't sold tickets or drawn ratings in years. I still think he has value because he has fans. I don't think anybody has turned on him, but I do think his value is obviously diminished by his own volition. He's been touted over the years as the best wrestler at the top of the totem pole. How do you tell a guy like that has that much respect in the business? How do you tell him, hey, somebody needs to protect you from yourself? I just wonder if people are afraid there to go to him and tell him, bro, you can't be doing this." Teasing the next VHS tape ahead of Raw, the Wyatt Sicks account on X posted this photo. In a contract status update on former WWE star Davey Boy Smith Jr., Ringside News wrote that Davey Boy Smith Jr., who has been a regular for MLW, is set to sign a 6-month contract with All Japan Pro Wrestling. According to Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer, this new agreement will see Smith committing to the Japanese promotion from August 3rd in Sendai through January, including the traditional start of the year shows and the 2024 Tag Team Tournament at the end of the year. Smith, alongside Lance Archer, was a major tag team force in NJPW from 2012 to 2019 as part of Suzuki Gun. Together they held the IWGP Tag Team titles 3 times and the GHC Tag Team titles twice for Pro Wrestling Noah. Smith initially started with All Japan on December 31st and worked several shows early in the year. He returned for the annual Champion Carnival Tournament, where he placed second in the A block with a 5-3 record, just behind the eventual tournament winner, Kento Miyahara. While Smith has additional international commitments next month and some dates yet to be announced, he will primarily be residing in Japan during this period. This move marks an exciting chapter in Smith's career, and fans are eager to see his impact on AJPW in the coming months. Following his match for Pro Wrestling Noah, AJ Styles had this to say in an interview.
Marufuji, every man that I knew he was. Talented, professional wrestler. If I could beat him, then I'd beat one of the best, and I needed to prove that to myself. I've lost against the best, and I've won against the best, and one of the best tonight was Marufuji. Excellent wrestler. If anybody else who could call themselves phenomenal besides AJ Styles, it is Marufuji. He gave me everything that I wanted in a match and more. He's a class above the rest, and I think a lot of his experience paid off tonight because he took me to the edge. He made it very difficult tonight. I was struggling out there, I won't lie to you. One of Japanese finest was in the ring with AJ Styles tonight. Any questions? Or did I answer pretty much every one that everybody had?
日本のファンはどうでしたか?
How was the Japanese fans? How do you think of the Japanese fans?
There's a reason why A lot of Japanese matches get 5-star ratings from people that really don't matter, but when you watch it back, you understand because it's always the fans that make the match. It's not the wrestlers. We're just there. And the fans always make the best matches. And the Japanese fans are one, if not the best in the world. If you want to experience what it's like to be respected as a professional wrestler, come to Japan. They understand what it takes to get to where we're at, and I have nothing but appreciation for the Japanese fans.
Recalling how Bray Wyatt was upset over the Firefly Funhouse segment where Seth Rollins destroyed the set, the artist that created sketches for The Fiend character Kyle Scarborough told Soundsphere magazine, "The way I understand it, by the way he, Wyndham Rotunda, spoke of it, was that the initial Fiend stuff and the Funhouse stuff and all that, I don't know if anyone's kind of revising history a bit, but to hear him say it to me this was early days. AEW had just started, and I remember he had kind of a tongue-in-cheek comment. He goes, they're not really in the position to say no to ideas right now. At that time, talent was either leaving or talent was leveraging, whatnot, and what have you. This is how businesses go, which I think is beneficial to the wrestling business to have those options because it forces people to be creative and utilize talent. So he felt, I think, he had the opportunity to get the idea heard, if only because what else are they going to do? And he almost seemed to. I really felt like the early days of the Funhouse stuff and the build-up was really him doing it. I don't think, and someone else can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't get the sense by the way he spoke of it that it was a company-backed thing. It was almost like he's going to go out of his way, he's going to reach out to people, and that's where I became one of the lucky ones to say, hey, I have this idea, let's try to bring it to life. And then you have these people bring it to life. They did the Funhouse. They tried it out. When it became a success and started to really pick up, then the battles became the writers. We spent a lot of those conversations where he would vent about the frustrations of that process. Being handcuffed a bit, being told, let's do. He was not a fan of when Seth Rollins showed up in the Funhouse in that one skit all those years ago. As he said, he would have to try to then get back online and spin their narrative back to what he could control. He's got this idea. With WWE collaborating with TNA Wrestling recently, talk of how Vince McMahon would have viewed this as spread, as Ringside News wrote that NXT and TNA Wrestling have a partnership that has worked out for WWE's side. Joe Hendry, Jordan Grace, and the Rascals have been allowed to play on Tuesday nights, but TNA Wrestling is also getting some choice promotion out of the deal. Vince McMahon used to say no to any sort of collaborative effort. He was very much against anything of the sort, and he never loaned out his talent except for very rare instances, and McMahon always got something better out of the deal. When ECW invaded Raw, for example, Vince got the ratings and that you never know what can happen on live TV energy, which he needed at the time. Even today, TNA Wrestling and NXT's relationship is a very interesting one indeed. TNA graphics continuing to be used on WWE programming led to comments of how Vince McMahon would have never allowed them, per Corey Brennan on Fightful Select. TNA Wrestling has been allowed to display their graphics under the names of their stars during every appearance. This is a nice touch, and many fans have called attention to it as well. It also adds even more depth to this partnership. Going over the WWE contract status of Natalya, Ringside News noted that Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select confirmed that Natalya is remaining with WWE. Natalya Neidhart has inked a new deal with the company, and she will be around for years to come. It was reported that the agreement was finalized in late June, just before her previous contract expired. While she wasn't present at WWE Raw last week, sources indicated the deal had already been secured by then. Since re-signing, she hasn't appeared at any WWE events. Negotiations between WWE and Natalya began in May, during which she ensured her external projects aligned with the terms of the new contract. With nearly 17 years on the main roster and holding numerous records, Natalya's new deal spans multiple years. Although Natalya entertained interest from outside WWE, most expected her to remain. There was also interest in her husband, T.J. Wilson, as a producer across various companies. WWE recognized the risk of losing Natalya and signed a long-term commitment before her contract expired. Ultimately, an agreement was reached. When it comes to Roman Reigns making a return to WWE at SummerSlam, PW Insider reported that, as we mentioned on the No Name show earlier this week, Roman Reigns is expected back by SummerSlam. As I noted on Wednesday, at one point the plan was for him to return 2 to 3 weeks before SummerSlam, which is about to be now. And this was your pro wrestling news update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see y'all later.